all day yesterday from a company, phones and stuff. And they said that our degrees were added.
So great. Some moisture with your.
All right, Lacey, we are good to go.
Thank you for supporting those with financial literacy.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so we will call this meeting to order. Can you please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will go forward with roll call. Lori Belargent.
Here.
Ian McDonald.
Here.
Matt Foucault. Lacey Oster. Here. Bruce Belargent.
Here.
Marge Below.
Here.
Our district mission: together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. Is there a motion to approve our agenda this evening?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda with an amendment. I'd like to remove item 4C1 from the consent agenda and create a new item 5 separate from the rest of the items on the consent agenda so that we can talk about it some more and vote separately on that item.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Shannon, did you receive any public comment?
No, I did not.
I didn't either. So we will move forward. Welcome, ladies. We're going to start out with our student board representatives. So Victoria, it's nice to see you back, and welcome, Tori.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, not until I have your presentation up. Okay, hang on.
All right, our September.
Hey.
I think you have to press record. Oh, this is a get to know me. So I'm a senior this year. I'll be attending a 4-year college for social work and then get my master's and then minor in Spanish. And then I am currently involved with volleyball, softball, student council, choir, and show choir. I have 2 older siblings. He just graduated from Eau Claire with a criminal justice degree and is engaged. And then my other brother plays hockey for the Wausau Cyclones. Your turn.
I'm Tori. I'm a junior this year. The main major that I'm interested in is marketing. I'm in softball, student council, and I'm going to be a girls basketball manager this year. I have one older sister who's a sophomore in college going to UW Oshkosh, and a younger brother who's in 6th grade, and I'm also a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Okay, so we're gonna start with our elementary school. The elementary school has been really excited to welcome in the junior kindergartners into the new building. Many of the 4th graders have been great leaders in helping with junior kindergartners coming in, and then student council is already working on their homecoming plans.
In the middle school, the fall sports going on are football, volleyball, and cross country. In recent cross country, the Prescott meet, the girls have been taking first and the boys took second. Student council has been planning for homecoming, and they also set up an intramural volleyball tournament that goes on at recess. And the students have been taking advantage of the nice weather recently and been working outside a lot.
Okay, the high school. So student council, we're trying to plan a lot of things to get involved with elementary and middle school and welcoming down to the high school for a pep assembly. Play practice has begun and they'll be performing Clue in the beginning of December. And then freshmen are really liking the flex schedules this year and starting to learn how to manage their time. So we started a new structured success where freshmen can earn their way out to prove that they know how to manage their time. We have welcomed a lot of new teachers this year, and then something that's changed is students this year pay for parking.
And we have a homecoming schedule, so to kick off the week, we've moved Powder Puff from Friday during the day to Sunday, October 8th, starting at 5:30. So we were able to get all the games in and have fun. The main reason is we wanted to play under the lights, be pretty fun, and then have the community come and watch too. And then Monday, October 9th, we're having an all-district assembly at the high school. And on Friday, October 13th is the annual homecoming parade starting an hour later this year at 2 p.m. And we're starting off inside the high school from Larry Forest. And Friday, October 13th, should I say. Oh, Friday, October 13th is the homecoming football game. We're playing Osceola this year. And then the following Saturday, the 14th, is the homecoming dance. It's going to be held at the middle school again. And then all schools have planned dress-up days for this homecoming. Can't really see it, but these are the dress-up days for us. We have pajama, which is district-wide, Jersey Day, Barbie versus Ken, and then we have a Generation Day assigning all the grades in the high school a different generation, and then Friday, obviously, Spartan Spirit Day.
Our high school sports football, the record is currently 3 and 3 overall, and then 2 and 2 in the conference. Boys soccer is currently undefeated for the season and going for the middle border conference champs. Currently, the volleyball team is 2 and 5 overall and 0 and 2 for conference games. The girls golf has done very well in the conference and keeping up with all the teams at their meets. And then cross country is the girls cross country recently placed 2nd at Durand. Oh, is that it? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come, ladies. Our listening session summary. I believe that was Bruce and Lori.
No one's here.
Okay. And then moving on to our superintendent's report. So our first part is the Spartan Spotlight.
Yes! Yay! Spartan Spotlight. We have a wonderful crew here that's going to tell us all about the amazing Reading Hammock project that was put on by Learn to Love. So I'm going to get this slideshow up and ready. Move the camera. You guys want to come on up?
Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad that you're here. I know we've had this crew in before, but just further, they keep just doing amazing things in our district, so.
Probably sick of us.
I love it. So I will turn it over to you guys.
So I'm Erin Hoff, this is Alicia Beecher, Andrea Forrest, and Kitsy Klinger, and we're the Learn to Love team at the elementary school.
You can hit it.
Hit 10.
There you go.
So Shannon or Pam both asked us to present what our inspiration and vision was for this project. Actually, we really haven't taken an academic approach to our service learning. This is our first time taking an academic approach. We wanted to make reading engaging, and I just put in here that when we change the activities, kids feel more excited about learning and they feel more excited about reading, and so that's, I guess, part of the vision that we had for this.
So for the process, we ended up seeing that another district, Prior Lake, did a similar hammock garden. So we contacted them, they gave us a spreadsheet of kind of the supplies they had used, what they needed to make it successful, and then we made our own spreadsheet, showed that spreadsheet to the donors that we were able to find, and get the help we needed in all those areas to make this possible. And once we were able to figure out what we needed and the donors, we then had a spring event with the Learn to Love that we cleaned up the area last spring around where those hammocks would be. And then once the hammocks were done and we were able to use them for the first time, we did a nice ribbon cutting ceremony for it.
And part of this, well, a lot of this hammock garden would not have happened without all of the support that we got from the parent group. In particular, Dave Sint at Cyclone Fencing donated his time to putting in all of those posts along with the people on his crew who installed the posts. We got a grant from the Lions Club, right? Mm-hmm. Kevin Noldner fixed and installed a little free library next to it. We thought that would be like the perfect place to put a little free library. Of course, the Learn to Love volunteers and their families. And as I think many of you saw, we got some coverage on KSTP, and also we had a Hudson Star Observer reporter come and interview us on that very hot day in August.
Here's some student feedback.
They're really comfortable and I like to cover myself up with shade. I like the reading hammocks because I like reading upside down and I like swinging in them.
This next one I'll open a link.
Oh, no. Okay.
He
We'll
likes
just
to do
assume that he loves it.
He said it was really comfortable. And
There we
like-
go.
Like,
But they're really
Kinsey, did you
comfortable
wanna
and
talk about-
but they're really comfortable and I like to cover. I like the reading hammocks because I like.
There we go. Sorry.
So just to look at what's next for Learn to Love this year, we always do our fall project where we go trick or canning in a neighborhood. The kids dress up in their Halloween costumes and we collect food items for the Somerset Community Food Pantry. And in the winter, we've written a grant request with the Somerset Community Foundation, which allows us to do an all-school service learning event on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Last year we did a sandwich project for the food pantry. This year we're seeing if we can think of something different, to be determined. In our spring project, we'll have the kids spread mulch under the hammocks, plant garden to give vegetables where that harvest goes to the food pantry, plant flowers around the building and kind of clean up the flower beds. And then in the spring, staff always does the Adopt a Highway trash pickup on County Road I around Earth Day. And then our hopes and dreams for Learn to Love, like pie in the sky. We'd love funding to continue to give t-shirts out at our service learning events. We used to give out t-shirts, but then the cost kind of got a lot for us. A t-shirt fosters a sense of belonging and unity, which builds pride in their work and motivation to succeed, motivates their friends to do a project with us. And then we just need some continuous sponsorship. So we're looking for ways to get, replenish our funds so we don't have to ask for money from people. So that's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions, comments?
It was great. The news story was really awesome because I think it really portrayed our entire district in a really good way. And I got stuff from people in other towns that I knew that don't go here, like, oh, I saw something on the news. That's awesome, the hammock. So thanks to you guys for all of that. It's really cool. And as a parent, my kid was really excited to come home and reported the day that he was able to do that.
Well, that's good. Yep. We're still working on Pam to have our meetings out there.
Just not in January.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Shannon with our Fall State Superintendent Conference report out.
Okay. Do this quick.
Okay, so I have a couple things on my report. Just want to mention, last week I attended the Fall State Superintendent Conference in Madison. As always, it was wonderful learning, great networking. It's such a great reminder, I think, too, because it's easy, I think, to forget how many areas in our district that we are well ahead of other districts in the state. Also, kind of the flip side of that, I have pages of ideas and hopes and dreams of things that I've learned and heard about from other districts as well that would be awesome to think about how we can implement some of those things here. So 2 days well spent. We were able to listen to our state superintendent, Governor Evers spoke as well, and really just being able to attend a wide variety of breakout sessions regarding what I would consider pretty important hot topics in education right now, so that was great. You will see attached to the agenda a copy of the 2023 budget hearing and annual meeting minutes. As a reminder, those do not have to be approved. It's really just informational. If anyone's interested in looking through those minutes, those are there, and those are now or will be posted on our website as well.
I'm sorry, before they get posted on our
Yep.
website, there's a correction that needs to be made. Delete Alicia Page from the list of those who were present.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I'll remember. Okay. So next item, just really a reminder, as most of you know, obviously, we are looking to fill a vacant school board seat. So we did have information that we pushed out in the scoop last week, information that was put on our Facebook page as well. So for anybody listening, really kind of the first target date is submitting an email of interest to me by October 6th. At that point, on October 9th, I will send everyone who's interested a questionnaire at the same time. That needs to be done by October 18th, and then on October 24th, the board will individually interview all those that are interested. So just putting that out there again publicly, that if people are interested, go ahead and send me an email and we'll get that process moving. And then the last item that I wanted to share some interesting information and guidance that I received from WASB regarding our once around the table agenda item. This came up because I had called them when Cherie resigned, just to make sure that I understood the exact process to follow when we're looking at filling a seat at this time of year. And we ended up getting into a really good discussion about just the overall nature of our agendas and the makeup of those agendas, because he was asking a lot of questions about work session versus regular session, those kinds of things. And I mentioned the term once around the table, and he said, oh, hang on here, tell me more about that. So I'm just going to kind of repeat for you what he was sharing with me. His quote was, I would remove that from your agenda as soon as possible because it's an open meetings law disaster waiting to happen because there are no boundaries in terms of discussion topics. And everything else that we have on our agendas are very clearly outlined and specific so that if somebody from the public was looking at an agenda, they would have a really good, clear idea of what the topics were going to be and what was going to be discussed, which is the law. And his concern is, and he also mentioned that he has seen other districts that have some other version of this, all put in with good intentions, but his concern is that often he has seen, and frankly I know we have experienced here, that items that get brought up during Once Around the Table end up being discussion or end up potentially talk about action and some of those kinds of things when actually none of those things were an actual agenda item to discuss. So he was asking, in general, how we use that, and I said, well, often for celebrations and really wanting to, shout out some great things that are happening, and so he suggested having a separate agenda item that says district celebrations via school board members, and then have it just be about district celebrations, if that's something the board wants to continue to do. Often I mention that we use it to talk about future agenda items, and he said, well, I'm sure you have a policy for that, which we do, in terms of the process for how that needs to work if somebody would like something on an agenda. So his final suggestion was I would remove that from your agenda as soon as possible. So it was a big enough and long enough conversation. I wanted to bring it to the table and just share with you what WASB had kind of given me in terms of some direction. So kind of putting it on the table here, I mean, it's nothing that would have to be voted on necessarily, but I would like some conversation of moving forward. Obviously it's on our agenda tonight, but your thoughts around moving forward.
I think he raised a lot of very important points with the open meeting laws, and the intention was to bring forward future agenda items. And we do have a policy about it, but I haven't read it recently. I know it has to be two people, a minimum of two people who would like it on the agenda. So I think the purpose in having it during Once Around the Table was to avoid an unintended quorum by sending out an email saying, this is something I'd like brought up at a meeting. Is there anybody else who agrees?
Right. So I brought that up to him, and his suggestion was that if somebody wants something on an agenda, to send an email individually to Lacey and I, and then between the two of us, we would then send out an email to the board saying, there was a request to have this agenda item. Please email me, whoever that came from, separately if you are basically seconding the request of having this on the agenda. So he suggested, because I literally brought up that exact same thing of like, so how do you see that working? Because this is how it has worked for the last couple of years. What's that?
Right, I could second that.
Yeah. Yep.
Other thoughts? I thought it was a really interesting conversation. I know you and I talked about it earlier, and I think that, I think with having that agenda, exactly like you said, people can look at our agenda and know what we're going to be discussing. And when you go around the table and we get on a topic of something else, I think it's natural instinct that it turns into a discussion. So I think it's kind of a safeguard for us as well. And I think going through the process, that if you want something brought up on the agenda, like exactly like you said, going through that. I mean, I don't think really there's ever been a time where, you know, if somebody wants something on, somebody else will say, yeah, you know, I second that, we can get that added. I think there's just that time frame to make sure that it's done before that Friday, and, you know, it needs to be that enough time, so if we need a second person to second it, that it's out with enough time for people to get that email. I would support taking off once we're on the table.
I would too, especially if we can have a procedure in place as you recommended. I do like the idea though of
District
the celebrations on the part of the board.
Just take off anything that has to do with discussion or possible action, I guess. So it's just,
Bruce, can you say that again? I'm sorry.
just take off the discussion or possible action piece to it.
And put district celebrations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put something positive into something negative, like every other legal crap.
Marge, how do you feel about it?
It's fine.
Okay with that. And then just to kind of reiterate, so if there is something that, you know, that maybe you would have put around once around the table that you want on an agenda, just email Shannon and I, and then if needed, we'll send that out to the entire board with a blind copy if there's someone who will second that. Okay. Then moving on, looking at our financial reports and enrollment report. Any questions or things to add to either of those?
So is that our third Friday number? What's the enrollment report, Shannon?
I was scrolling back and forth with the enrollment report, because I always like to compare with like the months. I'm like, okay, last year, I'm like, okay, first graders would be second graders, so it's a little, but some went up, like, it's good to see.
I'm not convinced that's final third Friday.
Okay.
That final report isn't due yet, and I know Rhonda was still working on, because there's always some unique scenarios that we have to work through to figure out what's counted and what's not counted, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay, then moving on to our consenting agenda, we're looking at A, minutes, 1, 2, and 3, B, board bills, and then personnel update and athletics activities update. Is there?
I'd like to make a motion to approve item A, 1, 2, and 3 with some amendments.
Would you like to say the amendments?
Sure. And I can email this to you.
That'd be great.
I have this too, and I can forward it to
Okay.
you.
In the August 21st regular session minutes, under the reports in the listening session summary, it says board member present were Bruce, and it should also include me. And this next one is a suggestion. It has to do with the list for the process of filling out the vacant board seat also. It's in the minutes. And on October 18th, and I've seen it on the district website and in the Spartan Scoop, and it's in the minutes, applicant questionnaires must be completed by 4 p.m. And I'm wondering if we should add to that, questionnaires must be completed and submitted by email or in person to Dr. Donnelly by 4 p.m. You know, just says they need to be finished, and, you know, you would think that people would know that, but just to be very clear, that they can either email it to you or submit it in person by 4:00 p.m. on that day,
Okay,
and that was it.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Then moving on to our handbook language. It's now, we can have that discussion if there's discussion to go with this. This was presented at our last meeting, and the memo that was presented from Shannon is also linked with what is being changed or modified is in yellow. So, further questions for Shannon or further discussion?
So I have some concerns about this, because if we are committed to transparency and being an equal opportunity employer, I think that we want, whenever we have a vacancy, we would at least want to notify our current staff about it. So I emailed a suggested revision of the language to all of you and Shannon just now. So it still keeps that paragraph, when a position becomes vacant or a new position is created, administration may work to fill the vacancy, but it adds in the middle of that sentence, or to that sentence, when a position becomes vacant or a new position is created, notice of such available position shall be emailed out to all staff via district email and may be posted on the district's website. And then that next part about administration may work to fill the vacancy based, all of that still stays. It just starts a new sentence. And then the rest of it stays as well. I think if we are going to be committed to transparency and equal employment opportunities, why would we not communicate available positions to all staff? It certainly does not interfere at all with the district's right to select the most qualified applicant.
Further discussion?
I think that's fair for everybody to be notified.
Have you seen this before? No, Shannon?
No, I just emailed it. We discussed it in the work session a little bit.
I go back to the last, and where this kind of stemmed from, a few weeks ago with the way things were kind of moved around. And I get what you're saying, Lori, but I also look at, a lot of times, I feel like in our administration and with principals, when they are doing, when things are vacant or when things are moved around, there's always reasoning behind it. And I look at what happened at the high school, for instance. It was only possible because of that particular person having the time in their schedule. So I get what you're saying as far as keeping it, having it transparent. But I also look at giving administration that authority because they know the ins and outs and what decisions that they're making, like that. The last one, for instance, it wouldn't have worked for other people to fill that position because of that 0.5 and other things.
But they still have that right. It's not taking away their right at all to make the best decision for the district. It's just more transparent to the community and the staff. you know, and
How to the community?
I've had, well, because they talk to people, you know, we have a lot of staff members who live in the community. And I've had community members, you know, ask me about it, you know, about what happened there and why wasn't it posted? And, you know, and they hear.
It was posted.
Our
Yeah.
board discussions, you know, when Bruce asked that night about was it posted?
I don't know, a year and a half ago, when we had a lot of positions, I don't know if we would need to have an email out to every single person when we had, 10, 12 positions. Remember when we moved people all around from the elementary school just so we didn't have to make any cuts the last year?
You know, and I know what you're talking about, and the way I remember it, those positions were discussed openly. I don't know if an email went out. I believe Mark Busick was still the district administrator then.
Yeah.
And so people did have the opportunity to express an interest. And at least that's the way I remember it.
Yeah, I think they did. Have an opportunity to say what they thought or if they wanted the position or not, and then they picked however they picked.
Whoever they felt was the most,
Qualified or
Yeah.
whatever.
We didn't require it on that last instant, but it still got emailed, right?
right.
You did not require it, but we chose to anyway in light of the discussion. Mhm.
I would support the way it was originally worded. That's my opinion. As an employee in an elementary school, when things open up or when things change, that's always been per discretion of my principal, and I think our administration is professional enough that they can have those conversations, and I think a lot of times, I wouldn't say that any of ours would go behind someone's back, or, I think a lot of times it becomes a discussion, like, hey, we have this if there's people interested in, but I don't think it needs to be put in writing in the handbook. That's my opinion.
I'd rather just leave it how it's written in here, that we had on their agenda and everything else.
And I think, as we have two principals here, but I think, and further, if that's appropriate for them, yeah, do that. But I don't think sometimes it's always, always appropriate for maybe what it might be. If it's a specific position and there's someone that obviously has the certification or background, I think it makes sense for them to make that decision versus opening it up, but that's just my opinion.
I think it's fair for the other staff to be able to have a chance at it if their certification and everything is, if they qualify. But I think it's fair for them to inquire about it or apply for that position too.
Shannon, do you have any feedback with the added word item? So it's.
I guess I would probably want more time to take a look at it. I don't think I have probably much more to add. I think, when I brought it up, I kind of gave the why, and you guys can decide if it makes sense. So.
Do we have a motion already?
Nope, we're just discussing.
I'll make a motion to approve, is it now 5A or C1, whatever we want to call it?
Yeah.
Recommend the school board approve handbook, language vacancies, memo as presented.
Is there a second? I will second that.
I think we can leave it this way. If something really comes up that's egregious in the future here, I think we have the conversation with people after that. That's my take. We let it go. If there's a lot of issues that arise, then, and we get feedback that there is, okay, let's talk about it. But let's let the administrators put that feedback out to the staff. Trust that they're gonna just ask anyway. I'm guessing they're gonna ask people anyway. It's not just gonna be people want. That's my take.
Wouldn't it be nice to have the wording in there before that happens? So we don't have to argue over it when it does happen?
Further discussion?
I just think it makes sense to have it in there. I mean, you're talking about that the administrators will do it anyway, why not just have the language there? And I'm looking at the transparency to the community, and
Don't send it to me 2 minutes during the meeting. You don't want us to vote on things that just come up on a meeting? Don't send it to me during the meeting.
well, this item was on the,
It's on the agenda, but you obviously had language
well, just today.
beforehand. I mean, do you want to send it to our admin team? Do you want to get some more perspective? I think that also is something we should take into, you can also share it ahead of time. So I would ask that too, instead of right now, and have us make a decision in a minute in the meeting. That's my take.
Well, we could postpone it until next meeting.
Currently, there's a motion to go with the original wording that was presented, and there's a second. We have the discussion, so let's vote on the current motion. So I'll do a roll call vote. Bruce?
Yes.
Marge?
No.
Lori?
No.
Ian?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So motion carries.
Moving on, looking at our general information, October 9th will be our work session.
Excuse
Lacey,
me,
we gotta
I think
get
we have to approve the board.
Oh, I'm
bills.
sorry, we talked about that, and I moved on too fast.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry, going back.
Approve consent agenda item B1, D1, and E1.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. October
Lacey,
9th,
Lacey, who seconded that?
I did.
Lori. Work session, October 23rd is our regular session with our listening session 30 minutes prior. And I would encourage people, if they do have concerns or celebrations or want to make feedback, that we've had people at those listening sessions the last couple of months and haven't had people attend. So, and then October 24th will be our special session to individually interview our applicants for the open vacancy. So since Once Around the Table is on the agenda for tonight, we will still do that, but it'll be off the next time. Marge, do you want to start us out?
Nothing.
Lori?
I had some items for possible future agendas, but I can wait and email those if you prefer. It's up to you, it's still on. Well, one of them had to do with one of the articles in the September issue of the Wisconsin News, School News. There was an excellent article there by Ann Chapman, who's a research director for WASBO, regarding the 23-25 state budget and the impact that it's going to have on education. Dave had alluded to some of these provisions in one of his recent reports. And I was wondering if it's sometime in the future, when multiple facts are known, if Dave could give us an update on how the state budget will specifically affect Somerset School District. When the news reported it, it made it sound like things were wonderful in the state of Wisconsin. And there are a lot of variables that have not been mentioned that it's not necessarily going to help a lot. So if Dave could give us some information at a future meeting when those variables are known, that'd be awesome. Several years ago, there were changes made to bus routes to reduce costs And since then, I think nearly all the board members have been replaced. So I was wondering if the board could get an update on what those guidelines are regarding bus routes and the parameters around them. I had a community member talk with me about this recently, and he was saying some things that I was not aware of, and I'm not sure if his information was accurate. I encouraged him to speak with you, Shannon. I don't know if you've heard from anyone.
I have not.
But if we could get an update on what the rules are with the buses, we had reduced routes. And do you remember this, Bruce? About the distances where kids would have to walk?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we talked about it. It was like time on the bus or something.
I think it had to do with the within distance of school. So we were
yeah.
eliminating some bus routes where we were picking up in the village.
Yeah, pick up locations in town.
Yeah.
So within a certain.
And then something that came up several years ago with our clerk had to do with calling a special meeting, which led to some problems. And we had a special session about it and made sure that we were very clear in how people were notified if there was a special session and the 24-hour advance notice and things like that. And I was wondering if perhaps that policy, not next time, because we have a huge list next time, but if sometime in the future we take a look at that policy and have a discussion, so we're all on the same page of what we expect if a special session is called. Because it says in there about your clerk responsibilities that you can call a special session.
I agree with that.
I think
That
we've
was
done
good.
that too, haven't we?
I think if we,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna get
Just
a
a
new board
refresh.
member on in November.
It didn't get called, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
called.
it was called.
Was it?
Yeah, but inappropriately.
So you want the policy on
Not
the agenda
ours.
just for
We're talking about
I think
the one that has.
proactive
review.
review?
No.
Okay.
Not just the one that had, it was before we came on.
Okay.
So is there someone else, a second person, who would be interested in having the provisions of budget with Dave at a meeting?
I'll second.
Okay, bus routes and guidelines, an update with that. I would be interested in that too. I think it's good information even for us to be aware of. And just a review of, you're not talking like to look, just a review of the policy, right? A discussion of the policy. And I would agree with that as well. We can easily put that on an agenda. I think just a refresh. Maybe should we wait for that refresh until our new board member is put on, just so it's kind of fresh in everybody's.
Well, yeah, I don't think we want it on for October.
So I'm thinking the work
Because we have
session
so many other
of the
ones.
first work session in November. Okay. Anything else, Lori?
No, thank you.
Ian?
Celebrations. Boys soccer. Great job, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. I have nothing. Bruce?
Nope, there's a lot of athletics, a lot of things going on around campus, so check them out. It's fun to see it, how positive too from the learn to love, right? That's awesome. Good publicity in the paper on the news is huge. I also heard from people from on our job site, well, aren't you on the board in Somerset? So that was good. So, and then thanks to our two new high school representatives. The only thing, I remember Shannon, you did talk about maybe some other interaction with them, so look forward to seeing that. Can't wait, Tori.
She can't either.
All right, that's it.
Thanks, Bruce. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 6:45.